video from my April 22nd and 23rd, 2017 trip to Farnsworth Bank and the front side of Catalina Island. We managed to get one dive in at Farnsworth Bank before the swell came up and made it really impossible to dive. Here you can see the now infamous yellow wall, which is this one streak of small yellow anemones. This was a really interesting tube that was floating in the water. I believe it's some sort of colony animal. I tried looking it up but couldn't find it. This is a macro shot of it with the Macromate Mini on my GoPro. It's really pretty how iridescent it is and how much it glows. Of course, there were nudibranchs everywhere, and the Spanish shawl is always one of the most beautiful. It seems to love the high current areas, so it can flap back and forth. Some of them were huge, as you can see here by the size of my hand. This is a Mexichromis nudibranch. You can tell by its two gold stripes. There were several in bunches. One of the nice things about Farnsworth is even when the viz isn't great, the safety stop is often beautiful. It's usually in blue water, surrounded by schools of sardines, mackerel, other bait fish, and black. We then moved on to the front side of Catalina. I believe this is Indian rock, and that is a giant pile of eggs of these guys, the sea hares. The sea hares were out in force, and they were huge. Most of them were as large as basketballs. Here was a little round ray that I spotted. I'm not 100% sure the sex of this particular one. I couldn't check to see if it had claspers. This is a beautiful flatworm, if you can believe it. We thought it might be a nudibranch, but when we checked the books, we determined that it was in fact a flatworm. Its Latin name is Bellostriatus, which I believe means beautiful stripes. Very cool. We had never seen one before, and so we were really excited to find something new. There's actually another type of flatworm, which is right here. This is a Eurylepta californica. Again, I understand it to be somewhat common, but I'd never seen one before this dive. Also very pretty. This is a McFarlandi nudibranch. You can tell it's different than the Mexichromis because this one's got 3 stripes, whereas the Mexichromis only has 2. This little guy is a Tylodina fungina. It's unique, somewhat unique in nudibranchs in that it actually has an exterior shell. It looks like a little Chinese rice hat. This was just a really, really cool rockfish that was posed perfectly on the ledge. It stared at me, I stared at it, took some pictures of it, and we went our separate ways. Here was a Navinox on a ledge. These guys actually eat other nudibranchs, which interesting enough, and there is a McFarlandi. The Navinox are not actually true nudibranchs. I believe this is a Fabullinia trilineata. It's kind of hard to tell from this distance. I need to see the stripes on the main part of its body. Also very cool. We saw quite a few of these. I believe this was Bird Rock. We then moved over to our night dive location, which was the Rock Quarry. Some people call it Crane Base. We did our night dive there, saw a really cool, very large horn shark, and just generally scouted out the area. There were abalone that were actively feeding, which I thought was kind of cool. Usually you see them pretty much clamped to a rock during the day, unless you entice them with some kelp. This was the one and only octopus that we spotted on this trip. 7 dives, this is the one. I believe this is a 2-spot octopus. It was not particularly happy to be spotted. It was fairly small, maybe about a dinner plate in diameter, but I'm happy to see one. There were several sightings of the Scythe butterfly fish. We thought perhaps they were more active at night because it used to be a somewhat rare occurrence to see these Scythe butterfly fish. But we found out during the day dives that in fact they are quite active. I don't know if they're just breeding en masse or if they're just getting used to divers now. It's really a treat to get to see these guys. Here's a couple of them that I saw feeding underneath some rocks. When I get close, they kind of swim away. Here's a bit of a better shot, and here's me scaring them off, unfortunately. The theory is that these are tropical fish that were brought up in an El Nino a number of years ago. They're native to the La Paz area, but what's interesting about that is that they're found in much deeper, colder water. That might be why they've been able to survive in Catalina. It was also rare, for me at least, to see them free swimming. We actually encountered 2 of them free swimming during the day. Here, you can just barely make out the tail of a giant black sea bass. This was the last dive of the day at Eagle Reef. Very cool. This is an opalescent nudibranch, or a Hermesinda cassicornis. I love these, and I think they are so beautiful. I was happy to see one of these at Eagle Reef. And this was just a very interesting, very beautiful starfish. I'm not quite sure what species this was. I don't know that I've seen one before. Overall, it was a fun trip. 7 dives in, and with good friends.